Hey y'all, I mentioned in the last video that I bought something that was in the Mardi Gras section of Dollar Tree, and that was that pop champagne bottle thingy. But anyway, I thought I'd tell you about the time I was at Mardi Gras. I was 21 years old, and I went down. I have relatives in Louisiana, and but I didn't go see them. I went with another relative and some of his friends. But anyway, I flew out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and it was right during a snowstorm. And I never flown in a snowstorm before, so it was rather terrifying, especially since I was by myself. And before the plane even took off, they had to de-ice it. And I just remember that it made a funny noise, and I could smell some kind of weird smell from it coming inside the plane. And then when it took off, it was just really, really loud. The snow pounding against the plane. I just couldn't believe how loud it was hitting it. And, oops, stop that. I'm sorry, I'm dropping stuff. Eat. My dog's going after it. Oh, no. Oops, sorry. Anyway, so the snow was beating against the plane. And it was really, really loud and scary. It was just terrifying. I just knew that the plane was going to come down. And I looked out the window, and the snow was so thick that you couldn't even see out of the window. You couldn't see anything. So I'm just about freaking out. And I'm a nervous flyer. Usually, anyway, at least for part of the time. I usually relax after a while. But that was one of the times when I was kind of nervous. And so I flew to Florida to, let's see, I flew into Clearwater, I think. Or maybe it was Tampa. I don't know. I flew in, and I got picked up by my grandmother, and so I went to her house, and then my uncle and I, we drove with another friend of his to Tallahassee and met up with some other friends, and then we drove from Tallahassee to New Orleans. And then when we were in New Orleans, we checked into our hotel and went out. And of course, there was lots of drinking involved. And yeah, lots of drinking involved. We went to a lot of parades, some during the daylight and some at night. And people just did, I was amazed at all the things that people did and did in public. But we had some silly string, and we were shooting it at people in the parade, and lots of people were doing stuff like that. And so a police car went by, and I just aimed, and he had his window down, and it went in the passenger window and just shot across towards where he was, and I think it hit the steering wheel or something like that. But as it was coming in, he started rolling his windows up again and just kept on down the road. But one night we went to the Bacchus Parade, and that's like their big time parade. I think they consider it like the biggest one. And there were a lot of famous people in the parade, like William Shatner. And he came by, and he just kind of, I don't know, he kind of acted like he was a king or something on his float. But we got some great beads, and there were cops spread out every so often along the route, just standing there. And we were making mixed drinks right on the street, and we gave two of the cops that were there near us, we were passing drinks to them, and so they were drinking right there in public on duty. And so because we were giving them the mixed drinks, they were giving us all of the good beads. And I remember one of them walked up to one of the floats, and he got a packet of 10 strands of pearls. And so he walked over and gave them to me. So I just put the whole 10 strands over my head. And after you leave a parade, you know, you have just crap tons of necklaces on, and you have other things that you've gotten too that they throw, like cups or badges, fake coins, whatever, you know, whatever they're throwing, but mostly beads. And so I thought that was really cool because I got these nice pearls, which I know they're fake, but they were really pretty. And this younger boy came over. He was trying to cross between floats from our side to the other, and he had on this great necklace, this great set of beads. They were like bottle green, and they were kind of shaped like bottles, and they were unusual because we hadn't seen any like that in any of the parades. And I don't know where he got them, but I think he told us at the time. But I wanted those beads, and so I asked him what he wanted for them, and he said he wanted a kiss for them. So anyway, I gave this guy a kiss, and he gave me the beads, and then he went on his merry little way across the street. But we didn't fix him a mixed drink. He just went on, and I got his beads. Well, then we went down to further down, and we saw the kids from Growing Pains. They were on a float, and I liked Kirk Cameron at that point, and I was just going crazy. Oh, there's Kirk Cameron, blah 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 blah. I want to catch something he's throwing, and because they were all throwing stuff off the floats. So my uncle, who's 2 years younger than me, that's the one I went with. He picked me up on his shoulders, and Kirk Cameron just happened to throw something in my direction, and so I reached up as high as I could to catch it, and it hit me right on the finger, and it bounced off. It hurt. I couldn't grab it, and it bounced off, so I didn't get it, and I was aggravated. But he kept me up there as long as he could so I could see and get out of the crowd, because that parade was so crowded that you could barely even raise your arms up from your body. It was just so tightly packed in. It would have been great for pickpockets. Oh my God, I can't talk. Anyway, I'm sure they were really working the crowd that night, because you just couldn't hardly even raise your arms. That's why I needed air, plus I wanted to try to catch something from Kirk Cameron. So that's why he picked me up, and so he held me as long as he could, and then he let me down. But I stayed up there for quite a while because I didn't weigh very much, and he's a big guy. So anyway, we did that at the Bacchus Parade, and I remember we went down to the French Quarter and Bourbon Street, and there was all kinds of debauchery going on down there. My uncle and I had to use the bathroom, so we went into this bar or restaurant, whatever it was, to use the bathroom, and I went and did my thing, and usually it's the woman who takes the longest to get out. Well, I came out, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting, wondering why he didn't come out, and finally he came out, and I asked him what took so long, and he said that there was a whole crowd of guys in there, and one of them had a girl with him, and he had a dog collar on her and a leash, and she didn't have anything else on. And so he was making her do tricks and things in the bathroom, not sexual tricks, but he was making her do things like sit up and do all kinds of dog type things. But anyway, so that's what my uncle had been distracted by. And so down in once we went back outside, there were people up on balconies that were, showing their, and throwing down beads, or people were throwing beads up to them. And yeah, I won't say what the guy next to me did that was in our party to get beads, but the girls up on the balcony really liked it, and they threw a lot of beads down to him. One of the things I didn't like was the guys that I was with wanted to stay out all night long drinking, and I was tired and sleepy and starting to feel hungover, and I would just want to go to bed. So that night we didn't have a hotel, and we were planning on driving home later. So I went and got in the van that we traveled in, the big van, and tried to sleep in there. I locked the doors and tried to sleep. It was like on a side street, and I was a little bit nervous because New Orleans is a dangerous place. But I locked the doors, and I tried to get out of sight so people wouldn't know I was in there, and tried to sleep, which it was really hard to sleep. And occasionally somebody go down the sidewalk cackling, you know. But so I did that, and they went on to, I think it's called Fat Harry's, which is a famous bar down there, and they hung out there. I had been in there with them for a while and didn't want to stay, but they stayed and did whatever else they did, and whatever guys do. And so we did have some great food, some crayfish etouffee, which was really nice. So that was great. What else did I like, not like? Well, I love the braids. I love the beads. It was fun collecting those. You know, they're really just worthless pieces of plastic, but it's fun to see what you can get. And I brought a lot of stuff home. I gave stuff away to people, and that was pretty fun. And just being there and experiencing it all, that was great fun. One of the things I did not like was down in the French Quarter, walking around, your feet are like underwater, or possibly about halfway underwater. It varies. And I say water, but it wasn't really all water. It was all kinds of substances: urine, vomit, sewage, water, spilled drinks, you name it. It was in that stuff. And so you had to walk in that everywhere. So that disgusted me. Because I was wearing, back then Reeboks were popular, the aerobics type, and so I was wearing those, and it just came over my shoes and was going down in my shoes and the little holes on top, and wetting my socks, and ugh, that was nasty. That just totally grossed me out. But I'd say that was the worst part, that and the hangovers. But I really had a great time. It was a great experience. And then coming back, everybody fell asleep except the guy that was going to drive us, do most of the driving. And I stayed awake with him because I was afraid that he would fall asleep at the wheel. And so I wanted to keep him awake. So I sat in the passenger seat and we talked and stuff. And everybody else was snoring away in the back. My grandmother, one of my grandmothers, she went to visit her daughter who lived in New Orleans, and she went to Mardi Gras. This wasn't the same time I went, but she went, and she was highly amused because she said she saw a guy that came dancing down the street in a parade that was wearing nothing but a fig leaf. And so I thought that was funny as crap. But anyway, because I could imagine it. I saw plenty of stuff like that and worse. But it's funny to think about your little old grandma seeing something like that coming down the street. And my mom and my uncle, the same one I went to Mardi Gras with, they were in New Orleans. My mom had a business trip there. And so my uncle flew there and met her, and they hung out, and she did her meetings and stuff, and they did some stuff together. And they went into a bar, and there was an old lady there that was drinking at the bar, which, you know, wasn't that unusual. But what was unusual was she had a pet duck, and she had the pet duck sitting up on the bar, and she had bought a beer for the duck and poured it in a bowl, and that duck was drinking the beer. Now, I'm not making this up. This is really what happened. So there's all kinds of wild stuff going down there. Everything you've ever heard about it, it's true and worse. But it's so fun, and I wish that I'd had a chance to go again. And I wish my husband and I could go. Even at our ages, I think it'd still be fun. Maybe not as fun as when I was 21, but it would still be pretty cool. So that was my Mardi Gras story. I had to leave some parts of it out that weren't appropriate for sharing on television, but it was quite a wild trip, and I loved it all, except for the nasty stuff in the streets. So my recommendation is, if you ever get a chance to go and try it out, because it is fabulous. And that's the end of one of my stories. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.